All right, what's up, everybody? We've got something totally different today. This is a Twitch only stream. We are doing this just on Twitch today. As I recently mentioned, oh, people are taking their clothes off in the chat. It's already getting crazy. I've previously mentioned that I've been invited to play in what is going to be called PogChamps 2 upcoming big chess tournament of 16 streamers of different varieties. And it is going to be at some point in the future. I've been invited. Is all I'm supposed to say so far. But one of the people who has been deputized to teach me is Levi Rozman, and he is also a Twitch streamer at Gotham Chess, and he's going to be joining me soon, and we're going to start exploring like just how bad am I at chess, and I don't know what he has planned. So I think we're going to figure it all out, and it's going to be great. I'm keeping an eye now on what's happening over on Gotham Chess just to have a sense of. It looks like Levi has stepped away. So we're going to figure that out very, very soon and very powerfully, I might add. Is it pronounced Levy? Levy Rozman? I don't know. That's actually a fair question. I don't want to mispronounce. It's like Weinstein and Weinstein. You've got to be very, very careful. Looks like people over in his stream are already complaining about my pronunciation. Levi? Levy? Levy? Jeez. We've got to figure out each other's name, I think, if it's all going to be working. So in any case, welcome to everybody who's watching on my stream, and there's just going to be a lot of different things going on over the next basically month and a half because of this tournament, which I have been invited to play in, and hopefully will be able to. So I might just send a message here. Let's see. Maybe I'll just join. And we'll see. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's see. We're gonna get this going. I've been told that during chess streams, technical issues are very, very normal and even welcome. So we may even have some technical issues coming up, and then it's just all going to be fantastic. So let's just listen in brief. Let me see what's going on over there. Let me unmute. See what's happening. Oh, we might be listening to each other's streams right now. It's really unclear what's going on. Oh, here we go.
Correct. David Pakman, the pundit. The pundit.
Now we're just stream sniping, right?
No. David is an invitee to the upcoming chess celebrity tournament.
Wow. I don't think he has any idea.
So there's no details announced yet, but certain folks are kind of giving it a shot.
Right.
And
okay. Very good. This is actually compelling.
I don't think I actually need that.
Okay. In any case, I'm gonna let him know that I'm ready whenever. I'm ready on Zoom anytime. Let me. I've got to be following. Jesus, this is all getting crazy. Oh, I've got to be a follow. I just followed. Okay. I'll just join the Zoom, and then we'll see when this all gets going. This is just all much more scuffed than I'm used to in a lot of ways. We schedule these things very far in advance, and it's just a whole different scene, But anyway, we're going to be jumping in on that soon. And I've been invited to a chess.com event, which is why we have chess.com up on the screen. And this is I have actually multiple coaches that are going to be helping me. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's just a completely different thing. It's a break from politics. It's a break from all of the toxicity. And it's just going to be some chess. I'm going to do the best I can. I actually am going to be taking it seriously. A lot of people, might not. Let's see. I think we're actually getting connected now. Let's see. Start video. Are we on?
Yes. Well, we're live on my end. Are we live on your end? Can you guys hear us?
We are so live. You can't even imagine how live we are right now. Let's see here. There we go. Hey, so I think I may have already. Do you say your first name Levy, or Levi?
Levy Rozman.
Levy Rozman. Okay, so
Hmm.
isn't that what I said? I think somebody criticized me because I already had mispronounced your name just off the top, but I feel like I did say that.
Well, I listen. I'm vain, but I was not watching the pre-show for our show. Is that? Did you say Levy?
I thought so. I don't know. Now I'm not sure.
Well, it's okay. Let's put it this way. I've had folks call me Levi, get corrected to Levy, then resort back to calling me Levi. Actually, my girlfriend just told me that a friend messaged her and said I'm mispronouncing my name my whole life.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be. I mean, that's not. I've known a lot of. I've known people who have who wrote their name incorrectly, and it actually short circuited me almost hiring them, which is a story probably for a different day. But once they signed their name wrong, I was like, this is probably not the attention to detail I need.
Oh, so you're not talking about the folks that spell like, you know, Lucy like Lucie. You mean like,
No,
oh,
no, no,
okay.
no, no. I'm saying someone misspelled their legal name.
Oh, that's very bad.
Yeah.
That's very bad. Okay.
So, okay, so I've sort of explained to my audience what's going on, and some people are very concerned about what's happening because they're worried that I'm moving away from the political space, but I'm really not. I mean, I just think there's nothing healthier than getting away from toxic politics. And for me, the way I got into chess very casually is it's just the complete opposite of politics, right? I mean, it's like the rules are very clearly defined. It's so concrete, which I love as a break from the stuff I'm normally mired in every single day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you moved from the toxic world of politics to potentially also the toxic world of chess.
Well, that was so. That's actually I had. I mean, I always have material, so I have a whole list of notes because I never want to be short of material, even if I'm just learning chess. So, is it like in the lefty political space?
Hmm.
A lot of us know each other, but also sometimes we just don't. In the sense that people will tell me about, did I see like Karen Iverson's YouTube channel, and I'm like, I have no clue who Karen Iverson. I just don't know. But at
Right.
the same time, you do form groups. So like, I know Tom Hartman and Jenk and all these different people in the chess streaming space. Is it like everybody knows each other?
The chess streaming space, yes, I would say that we all know each other. We all know of each other. We might not like to admit we all know of each other.
Right.
I can pretty safely say that like most of us, you put all of us in a room where no one's gonna throw any fists.
Sure.
But there's always rivalries, especially if folks are the same playing strength. You play each other on stream, and personalities might clash. Not everybody is as traditionally respectful, let's say, as they might be in tennis or
Oh, is that right?
yeah, in a sport that everyone's always just trying to be positive and say good things. I feel like for the most part it's like that, but we
I had
also
no idea.
yeah.
So so I obviously am not very good at chess, but one of the things that I've experienced is
Hmm.
if I start a game against someone and they're playing really quickly and aggressively, I feel like it is a personal aggression. Like I interpret that that person would be very aggressive in person, but that's probably not accurate, right?
No, actually, that's like relatively. I mean, you could be playing like a 6-year old, so 6-year olds also are very impulsive. But at the same
Okay.
time, if you're playing, um, yes, if you're playing an adult, that actually is quite frequently a sign of that's just how they play. They just
So in
try
other
to.
words, if I'm playing against chess against someone who's playing super quickly and hyper aggressively, it might be the same type of person who like calls my voicemail and leaves anti-Semitic messages or something like that.
Well, that was a little bit of a more of a step up than I was envisioning. But I think it would be a type A person. I guess we could take that next step.
Fair.
Um,
Okay. No, that's good to know.
but I also will say that online chess does have folks resort very quickly to making fun of religion and culture.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, the anonymous folks. That's never happened to me when I played like a public person. At the same time, I'm an international master, so primarily my opponents are titled players with public accounts.
Right.
So I've only really once ever had like a brutally insulting public player, and I was like, "What are you doing, dude?" Like I mean, I know who you are. It's so weird. But
That sounds less appealing in the sense that I thought I was getting away from anti-Semitism by going into chess. But it's, I mean, I know everybody knows about Bobby Fischer, obviously, but I was not necessarily thinking that that's the direction that chess goes. But I guess it's going to, we'll see how PogChamps goes, if indeed I am confirmed to be playing. I've only been invited so far.
right. No, I had an anonymous account on which I was playing my real, openings that I wouldn't want people to research if ever preparing for me for
Ah,
serious competition, and uh, I had a Vietnamese flag,
mm,
and the amount of hate. Like I had, like when I played a Vietnamese player, they'd get really excited. They'd be like, "Oh, like who are you? Are you from the top 10?" And I'd be
right.
like, "I'm." Nah, I would just, I would write in Vietnamese, and I wouldn't be able to respond. But folks would just immediately resort to just insulting that, and I was like, "What? Like, come on, you got to do better."
Now that's
Um,
interesting. So, I mean, there's a lot of IMs who are playing their real openings online, and
mhm.
presumably they're playing them in tournaments as well, right? So I didn't even think of that as a strategy where you might play totally differently online or under a pseudonym in order for people to have a tougher time preparing.
Yeah, exactly. So at the highest levels of kind of slow chess in what traditionally has been known as the most elite form of chess, now with this whole online boom, I'm sure that's still the case, but it's harder to kind of wrap my head around this online progression and prize funds and everything like that. But yeah,
Right.
you yeah, a lot of it is preparing. They look at the games that you've played in tournaments, and then they also um, look at the games you play online. In my case, I have like over 10,000 games, so drilling down into something specific is going to be really difficult. But definitely when I play stuff that I would play in slower games to win important games, I have to hide that,
Got it.
which is you don't have that problem.
No, no, no. I have yeah. So I mean that. So I guess this will start to kind of get into my preparation, as we may be calling it. Um, so when if I'm going to be, I want to take this relatively seriously, and the I guess first I just need context, right? Like I up until a year and a half ago, I really only knew how the pieces moved
Okay.
and what constitutes checkmate and just the basic rules, castling. I mean, I didn't know any opening strategy or anything. So, like, how old were you when you started learning and the process of memorizing things, etc.?
Sure. So if you come across a titled streamer, I would say I want to go as far as to say every single one of us started playing in childhood. So
Wow.
if it's an international master or grandmaster, I'm an international master. GM is the next one up, and even in the GM title, there's levels, to the game. Uh, all of us started playing when we were 5, 4, 6, 7, 8. We were playing tournaments as kids, and that's kind of stuck. So I'm 24 now, and I played my first tournament a month after I turned 7.
Right.
So yeah, in over the course of my life, I've probably played close. I always say 500,000 chess games online and over the board, and I've played tournament games specifically about 2,000. So over the
So
board.
in my position, it's not even really realistic to think that there's going to be any significant amount of memorization, right? Like, do I need to understand more conceptually than memorizing, other than maybe in initial moves, or like what's reasonable for me to even be doing?
Right. That's a huge question that gets asked. And I think you're actually the perfect example of somebody that's trying to learn. You said you just learned the basics as an adult, right? You didn't play at all in childhood.
I played only in the sense that I would sit in front and I knew how the pieces moved,
Okay.
and eventually somebody would get a checkmate. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was that, but there was no like actual. I have a few openings in my repertoire, which I'm sure we'll talk about. That's been in the last couple, year or
Mhm.
two.
Right. So that's kind of like always the example. It's like, you knew the basics, you're only recently as an adult kind of picking things up. Where do you start? Uh, I I recently did like a kind of a question series of my viewers, like what are your most basic questions? If you could ask an IM 3 different questions, what would they be?
Right.
And there's a big overlap of like what is the chess starter kit? I mean, if you just need some skills to kind of get the game going. So for sure it's some sort of opening repertoire. How you start the game with white and black against different openings. basic ways to finish a game. So let's say you're winning, like you said, checkmate patterns, how to win with king and queen versus king,
Right.
king and rook versus king, which I'm sure you have had to train yourself, and so on. And then puzzle solving, you add the tactics, and then, well, all of us struggle through the middle game. Like, how do you make a plan? How do
Right.
you make weaknesses, take advantage of weaknesses? So that's always the hardest thing. Uh,
So should I give you like the 90-second rundown of what my playing approach and struggles have been so far, and then maybe you just take over and I'll just go wherever you guide me?
yeah, that would be the best first step. So take me through your chess from like right when you started kind of your studies,
Yep.
where you are now, maybe what resources you've done, what training you've done, and with who, and then uh, what do you think your biggest strengths and weaknesses are? What do you like and hate the most about the game?
Wow. Okay. I mean, so I'll just kind of go in a random order. So, in terms of playing, I mean, the most serious study I've done has basically been limited to as white. I had a phase where I was playing King's Gambit.
Okay.
I had a phase where then I went to Ponziani.
Okay.
And then more recently, I've been messing around with King's Indian as both white and black,
Okay.
actually. A struggle has been with playing as black, having a strategy that was not dependent on memorizing exact responses to different openings by white, which is why I think I've liked King's Indian, because I think that there's a couple in the first three moves, there's only a couple scenarios where black would deviate, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I'm sure we'll go into that. So that's actually been okay, but I'm really open to, I don't know what my approach should be in thinking about the tournament, but that's basically been like the theoretical study.
Okay.
And then it's I've gone through a lot of the free materials online of checkmate patterns and so on and so forth. I did a couple casual lessons with Eric Rosen a little over a year ago, and we may do some stream stuff at some point. And then otherwise, it's just been playing. I mean, it's a weird thing because maybe this is a common thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I know so much more about the game now than I did a year ago,
Right.
but yet I'm not necessarily winning that many more games or seeing my rating go up.
Yeah, that's fairly common actually. Chess is absolutely sometimes you don't even feel the reward of study until months down the line. You need
Right.
a break from the game. You'll come back 2 weeks later and you'll play this beautiful game, or you'll play a game where you lose all your pieces within the first 5 or 10 moves. You're just like, what
Right.
happened?
Right.
Um, I really like what you said. So with the black pieces you play, so the two types of openings, setup based openings, which you kind of play all the time, and then the more theoretical ones. Let's we can jump into an analysis board. Are you in live chess?
I am in live chess right now.
Okay, perfect. So I have an analysis board set up. I'm gonna add you. You should get a invitation at the bottom right of your screen.
Got it.
Okay, perfect.
I'm in.
Awesome. So when you see the board, you start out with white on the bottom, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I can't flip it for both of us, but if I ever prompt you to, make sure the board is flipped at the top right, like right where that rook is at the top right corner, there's a little set of icons,
Yep.
and the bottom one is flip board.
Got it.
Okay, so just if we ever need to look at the position from black's perspective or white's perspective. Um, Now, primarily, I saw that you play 2+1 as a format, right? Like, what do you usually play? And
So
then,
on chess.com, I'm playing a lot of 2+1
okay,
because we have a lot of hurry up and wait in the production of my show. And
okay,
sometimes I'll just squeeze in a couple games. Over on Lichess, I'll play often longer formats, but
hmm,
I'm not playing very, longer chess. And one thing I was going to ask you was, for training purposes, should I be doing slower games?
absolutely. So 5-5, which
Okay.
is 5 minute, 5 second bonus, very popular.
Yep.
10+0 is good, but what you'll also run into in 10+0 is you'll have a person that, as you said, will just beeline. I mean, play really fast, and
Yep.
all of a sudden you have 2 versus 8, and you have no bonus time.
Right.
So you're in a bullet game again. So 15-10, I think, is like the best.
Oh,
But as
really?
you said, yeah, like as long as you can and with bonus time. And what I always say is you should set a quota. So you should play like 2 games a day, maybe
Hmm.
3, and that's it. And then try
Okay.
to analyze, internalize. Yep. Um,
Interesting. Very okay. This is useful stuff.
yeah, because 2 plus 1 is great, but in the words of philosopher Hikaru Nakamura, it's a clown fiesta.
Right. Well, I think, there sometimes when I'm trying things out, I have this idea where if I want to get a bunch of looks at a particular opening or a particular situation, like in the King's Indian, where am I advancing my F or D pawn first, depending on what's going on or whatever, it feels intuitive to say, let me get as many looks at it as possible.
Mhm.
But obviously, then a lot of the other stuff is not as high quality.
Right. No, that's absolutely correct. The only way to really see what you got is to take your full game history, and I'm happy to kind of add tools for you like starting today. So if you started with the white pieces
Yep.
at the bottom, you can make like let's say you start the game with your usual e4. So you would
Hmm.
play. I think you can actually make moves. So
Okay.
let me say, okay, terrific.
And again, usual. So for I've been really doing King's Indian recently, but you're saying from the Ponziani days, so to speak.
Yeah. So if you tell me if you want to stick to King's Indian, I'm totally happy to do that. I think actually with the white pieces, e4 is a fantastic move, and there's a
Fair.
lot of there's a lot of weapons, and you don't need to. Um, let's put it this way: you don't need to learn a ton of responses at the at a lower level.
Okay.
So you start out with King's Pawn. Tell me what you know. What can Black play here? And because I don't want to bog you down with repetitive information.
Yeah, I mean, I guess typically these three moves would be ones that I think I'm coming up against most frequently.
Okay, yeah, and that's absolutely right. So e4, e5, you're going to face a lot. I mean, probably more than 3 out of every 5 games.
Yep.
Sicilian, so c5, you're going to face because it's one of the most popular defenses. And I tell folks below 2,000 not to even play Sicilian because the way Sicilian normally happens on a theoretical level is you have to memorize a ton of stuff, and I just say don't even do that. I like the King's Indian, so I really like that. And then yeah, you said Scandinavian, so this immediate thing, and I know you usually take.
I do. Yeah, usually the way yeah, and then typically play the knight out, and
Mhm.
then sometimes I will see this, or
Right, yeah,
sometimes I will see like this check, in which case I'll usually bring the bishop out.
right, exactly, yeah, bishop knight get developed, and then and so on. I think for a good starting point, like a in terms of opening repertoire, which we'll start out with. Let's start out with e5, and rather than like aggressive king's gambit or knight f3, my community is gonna know this because I talk about this opening a lot. But play knight out this way first.
Mm. Well, in my preparation for our work together, I
Hmm.
did see one of your videos where I saw that you suggested this. This is
Okay.
the Vienna, is it?
Yes, and so the Vienna has a couple of different versions. The one I'm going to show you is I don't really focus on it actually so much in the video that I think you're talking about. Also, I'm
Hmm.
honored. That's
Oh yeah, yeah. So listen, I have questions about what's happening with the chess YouTube algorithm, which we'll get to. But you started just popping up 3 weeks ago for some reason. I don't know how or why, but I have some theories. But we'll deal with that maybe later.
sure. Well, that's amazing. I'm gonna make sure YouTube gets a nice donation so they keep doing it. So I like this move for a few reasons. The biggest reason is that you're gonna play this move anyway. I know that Ponziani happens. You play pawn here, and normally what you're gonna do is delay the move knight f3 or just not play it at all. And what you'll do with the knight is either push this pawn in the future, or you're gonna put the bishop this way and the knight this way.
Hmm.
The last participant in the tournament, I showed this to BoxBox, who's streams a lot of League of Legends. But there's a lot of venom in this system. So let's say I just play a developing move, something like knight c6.
Hmm.
What you can do here is go for a system where you play for the center, so something like bishop c4, and you can play the moves to just familiarize yourself with
Okay,
this.
yeah, that's good.
So bishop c4 is kind of like the traditional way of doing things. And again, we're waiting with this knight. So let's say I play like knight f6,
Yep.
and now you prepare this move with pushing your d pawn, so up one square.
Mm.
Exactly. And your next idea is going to be, you want to go here, and then you want to play knight behind the pawn. So
Got it.
in a perfect world, let's say again you play this move. If I take it, I hope we're clear. You are going to recapture that.
Yeah, right. Okay. That was going to be my first
Mm-hmm.
question.
Yeah, you don't need to delay it. It's not a gambit at all. It's actually now. What do you think is the benefit for white to make this trade? A few moves down the line, what's going to be the benefit?
I mean, I'm guessing maybe something related to having some influence in this direction earlier and prevent maybe making it more uncomfortable for black in some future moves.
So first of all, yes, your bishop is going to get developed, and you're going to have like the two central bishops, which is excellent. You don't always get that. And the second benefit is going to be anytime a pawn is traded, and this is just generally moving forward as well, files open up, a lot of diagonals open up. So since you traded your f pawn, the f file is more open.
Yes.
And so when you put a rook here, hopefully with short castling, you're going to have an active rook, because normally there's a pawn here.
Sure.
And so the rook is stuck behind the pawn. So long term, you're trying to create something on that side of the board, or you will castle this way.
Yep.
And
Otherwise, so when you say "or I will do that," depending on whether this exchange happens on f4, I will castle one way or the other.
that's a great question. When I say or, it's actually more of a matter of like it's honestly completely up to you.
Okay.
You can play the ensuing position with short castles or long castles. And I know that's like, well, that's why wouldn't I stick to one way? Because in chess, consistency is super important. But you might find that you like putting your king this way and just going crazy on the side of the board.
Okay.
But if you castle the same side as your opponent, it's harder. It's harder to attack on the same flank, because
Okay. So in the event that this pawn is taken, I immediately take back with the bishop. If it's not,
let's say I go here, for example. What do you think you should do here?
probably move the knight out.
Okay, perfect. See, you didn't forget about that. Like that's how I know your continuity is absolutely right. Like you don't need to get distracted with this, because that if this happens, we have this.
Right.
So
So I mean, I guess this is a good time to. So one principle that I don't think that it's necessarily been, I mean that I've picked up on, I guess, is I tend, if there's a possibility to create a trade or wait for a trade earlier in the game, I'll usually opt to put one of my pieces on a better square, knowing that I can always that the piece is defended and I can trade later or now. Rather than choosing to trade, I'll wait and develop a piece.
okay, sure. So what you're saying is you're not rushing into trades for the sake of simplifying the position.
Yes, certainly not early anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's good, because actually folks play the complete opposite way. Like a lot of people like to trade like 5-6 pieces immediately, and you probably have played against folks like that who
Yeah.
Now the thing is, when that is happening, when it's very clear that someone is trying to do something so belligerently, chess is not the kind of game where you go, "Oh, I'm not going to let him do that." Because what you described in that sentence is an emotion, and that has no, like, that sentence does not make any sense on the board, because on the board the best move and the best plan is always the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same conceptually. You can't just go, "I don't want that to happen."
Right.
So sometimes very early on, trading a bishop for a knight, not good, just generally speaking. 7-8 times out of 10. Why? There's imbalance, right, between bishops and knights.
So I think in the end game, the bishops are better.
Yes, and in the middle game.
Okay.
And so conceptually speaking, if I challenge you, do you think that a person with two bishops versus bishop and knight wants to open the position or close it, or doesn't matter?
Well, with two bishops, I mean, I guess I've been in situations where with two bishops, I can start to really harass the king over to one side of the board maybe
Hmm.
for as part of some broader plan. So it seems if I had the two bishops, I would want open or close. I guess I don't know. I guess maybe more open because the bishops would have long diagonals on which to operate.
Yes, exactly. So that's sort of how you go a little bit deeper into that concept. Like, for
Mm.
example, if your opponent played the move bishop g4 in this position,
Yep.
the whole opening phase is not just about developing your pieces and your pieces only. I mean, it's also still a dialogue between your pieces and theirs. So in this position, what I would do is I would say, okay, what do you do if I just attack your bishop?
Right.
And if they hang around, this bishop is very suspiciously placed.
Yeah, I mean, in this, I've had this situation on the side of the board often, and usually I'll just keep pushing
Hmm.
forward.
Perfect. And then if they go here, this is actually very common in the Vienna.
Ah, right. Usually in the openings I'm playing, I'm not getting this third push. They're usually back to a space that is like inaccessible for me, or at least this pawn would be under. It would be in a space where it could be taken. So
Hmm.
I guess that's different in this opening.
Yes, exactly. Playing this like system with this expansion on the king side, you will trap that bishop. It will happen.
Mm,
And well, because folks like they go here, but they don't really think it through. They kind of stop at, okay, I'm just pinning this knight. Sorry, they stop at I'm pinning the knight, and you go okay. And if they take it, I hope we're on the same page about what you're taking back with.
Well, so let me think. I mean, I guess if I take with the pawn, I've got the open G file for the rook. But if I castle, then it's actually the king that's exposed, right? So maybe that's not so good.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's better to take with the queen in this position, because if you take with the pawn, um, I honestly can't add anything to what you said. You're yes.
And double pawns, I guess, is unless there's a good reason for it, I want to avoid it.
Okay, so this is very commonly kind of stated. I'm not so sure how badly you need to kind of implement that um concept, I would say.
Okay.
Because let's put it this way, doubled pawns which are isolated and could be targets, yes. Doubled pawns which are supporting the center, which are well protected, not quite the same, but
Okay.
everything else, yes, everything else is 100% right.
All right.
So queen would be yes. Okay, now I play this. Let's test your tactical vision. What's the best square for the queen to go?
Well, Black's G pawn as of right now is undefended, so G3 I would be immediately attacking that pawn, and I guess potentially forcing Black to have to react to that.
Mm-hmm.
Where else? I mean, F2 would put the queen with some. I mean, if that knight eventually moves, the queen would potentially have room to do something. Um, and then maybe I guess I would try to avoid e3, even though the pawn is there. I try to maybe avoid lining up the queen and the king.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, I guess if this were me playing, I would probably go for g3.
Okay. So this is where I'm going to. Have you heard in any of my videos me say checks, captures, and attacks?
Checks, captures, and attacks. Yes. Okay.
So when and just chess thought process in general. So obviously, when that knight pops in,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you do when a move is made is you go, "What does my opponent want?" It's not about you. It's actually first and foremost, it's about them.
Yep.
So when you see the queen is under attack,
Right.
and so you go, I got to move my queen. Well, if I go here, I'm attacking this pawn.
Yep.
Yes, but you didn't finish. You didn't finish that first thought. There's
Oh,
something
I'm gonna
else.
get forked on c2 if I do that.
Exactly. So
Okay.
so that when you finish that thought process, it
Right.
becomes a lot easier to go, well, what do I have to do? I got
So
to
I
move.
guess it would be f2 or even d1, right?
Yes. And so they're both fine, but F2 is a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, I'm not totally undeveloping the queen.
Okay, perfect. Also, we can call this not an attack. I like to call this just vision. So the queen has vision on the knight, and if anything goes wrong, you'll take it.
Yeah.
And you can even like this move, next move, is adding an attack.
Yep.
So yes, bishop b3 would attack the knight. No, this is a great move. Now let's say I will go here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let's play through this. Maybe I'll leave you off with castling. So you finish your development, and now I'll play a move like a6. So let's play a little bit. So I
Okay, and
just
then
see
at some
how.
point will we back up and review the
Mhm.
standard moves that I should be? Okay, yeah, good.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Um, okay. I mean, at this point, I might be thinking something like this. Um, would maybe be a move I would think of,
Okay.
or I might push the B pawn. Maybe. I mean, this is usually actually where if I have an opening plan, this is where it becomes pretty ambiguous for me, where I'm not really sure like how I should structure the plan going forward.
So b3 and bishop e3 are both fantastic moves. Because I guess b3. I'm starting to do some calculations because I get what you're saying. B3 bishop b2. So b3 tactically would not work. I just want to show this. I spoke too soon. I was just focusing on your development. But b3, what is wrong with b3? Can you?
What is wrong with
I
B3?
know it looks like crazy that could be. So checks, captures, attacks for yourself is a easy way to solve puzzles. Now add that to your opponent. If you play b3, he can't check you. Well, he can, but both moves lose a knight.
Right.
Right? Both moves lose a knight. He can
Yep.
take this, and what does that lose?
That loses that. Yeah, the other night. Yeah.
Exactly. I guess he can take everything else which is guarded. So then
Mm-hmm.
attacks. How does he attack you in this position safely?
Um, how
One of your
does?
pieces.
I'm actually not sure.
Perfect. That's good. Because if you knew everything, then chess would be very simple. So it's better not to know.
I mean, I'm thinking. So with this night, you're saying?
No, no, no. With anything. So
Oh,
when
I
you play
see.
this move, yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm still not sure how that move puts me in a position to be attacked.
So I guess you can go piece by piece. Now pawns, I wouldn't like. You don't need to go. Oh, he can attack one of my pawns or something because there's no pawn in the center of the board that can be attacked at the moment.
Yep.
This is all well guarded. Your pieces, you need to see if there's any way he can put one of your pieces in danger. And so this is the move.
Okay. Yep.
And now your only safe square with the bishop is here.
Yep.
And I just hope you understand when I say safe, I mean that, oops, sorry, I mean that that's a fair trade.
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
trade,
Yeah.
right. So, but then there's this,
Yeah.
and your bishop is dead.
Right.
So it's crazy that that can happen that fast. And now
Yep.
white is just down a piece. I mean, there's not much you can do here. Um, so it's crazy that a move like b3, but conceptually speaking, do you see why your bishop got trapped?
Conceptually speaking,
So let's put it like, oh no, I guess blue is not the right color. Let's do.
well, I mean that pawn structure limits the escape squares for the bishop.
Yes, that's yeah, exactly. So it's the fact that three light squared pawns behind a light squared bishop,
Right.
they're shoving him off a cliff and saying jump into the lake, and so there's this bishop has to hang out here. Whereas at least here, there's an escape square for the bishop to always kind of drop back to, and
Right.
this trade is fine. For the future, if you ever want a getaway square for a bishop on one of these diagonals, like a3 is always very useful,
Mm.
and then you can just slide back, and then from there you'll have the same kind of pressure.
Makes sense.
Bishop e3, the move that you suggested, excellent move, because it creates an attack on my knight. Right, you are literally threatening to take this piece.
Yep.
So let me go here.
Okay. Um, I guess I'd maybe be thinking about pushing my f pawn to f5.
Okay, taking some space on this side of the board.
Yeah, and maybe opening up some space for the bishop, and the pawn is protected by this pawn, and there's kind of like some action happening. So I start. I mean, in these situations, I don't necessarily have a clear idea of what my eventual attack would be, but it just sort of seems like maybe I have something going here that I could develop.
So f5, what is the difference between these two moves? Taking the pawn and pushing it. Let's say you take it, optically speaking.
Well, I'm opening space if I
Hmm.
take, whereas I'm kind of keeping things closed in if I just push.
Yeah, it's more like the F file is opening up in your favor. But at the same time, when this happens,
Yep.
you do kind of allow the queen to have vision rather than that's not a threat. It's now taking part in the game on the D file.
Yes.
Um, okay, yes, very good. I mean, taking or pushing are both kind of they're both kind of equally, how should I say, annoying for black
Yep.
because they both take space, they both open up the position. I think between the two of them, this trade is a little bit better
Oh, okay.
because you at least now have pressure here. So in terms of you have a middle game position, and it's like, what do I do next? So obviously you're always looking at attacking something, capturing something. Tactics should always be kind of worrying in the back of your head. Let's say you do play this move, queen to g3.
Yep.
You're eyeing this, you have vision on this pawn. You're like, okay, I'm going to go here. Have you ever seen this kind of checkmate pattern where you have this and then
Yeah, so very typically in this situation, I would try to play here, given that the pawn is pinned, and then usually what ends up happening, well, I guess in this position I'd have to look at it, but sometimes if it's very dire for my opponent, this pawn comes forward and I'll end up taking the rook, and there's some trade that happens on that square that's to my advantage.
yes, exactly. So when you start looking at all this stuff, you have to not forget what your queen was doing on that home square. And so that's kind of like the lesson in and of itself is that you got to go, okay, I want to go here, and then I want to go here, and then I want to go here. Yeah, but what happens when this happens again?
Right,
And
right,
so it's
right,
like, well,
right,
that doesn't matter because I have this move. You're not fully wrong if you think this way.
right.
But again, the thought process there is if he takes my rook, then it's mate.
Yep.
Is that thought process is correct? That is a correct thought process, but there's something amiss. We're assuming that the rook will be captured, and that's not going to happen. So that's how you have to think in chess. If you have four ideas, three work, one doesn't, you can't play the original idea. Because if the opponent finds the one move that stops your whole plan, it doesn't matter that there was three good plans. Like, if that makes sense.
Okay, so but in this particular situation, are
Mm-hmm.
you saying I shouldn't be worried about the rook on a1 because if there is not a defense here, then it's mate?
Yes. So that's exactly right. My next question was going to be, is there a defense?
For black.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's this, right?
So g6 is kind of like the last resort because then you're going to lose your rook.
Mm-hmm.
That is usually what has to happen if you have no other way of defending.
Maybe here?
Perfect. So that move both defends and attacks.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
actually, this has happened to me before, yeah.
right. And that move sucks for you because
Yep.
it's like, oh, okay. And then, if you go here, now can we take this rook?
Yeah.
Right. Because if you take the knight, let's not forget that this bishop is now under attack.
Right.
So because the position will change a little bit. That used to not be the case.
Yep.
And yeah, that's I mean, that's kind of a little bit about plan making.
So one idea that in a position like this I've had before would be thinking about if I play here
What
and
does
then
that trade
takes
do?
here,
Yep.
and then this puts pressure this way, and the queen can't take because this is defended. So that would be something I would think about. I don't know if it would actually work.
So knight d5 as an idea is exactly where I was going. It's like if you don't have a direct attacking plan, you don't have a weakness that you can target, what trades in the position are beneficial to you
Yes.
and why? So knight d5 is the best move. It's the best move in the position.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
Wow. I'm shocked that that would be my go-to. That's well,
yes.
I mean, and also in thinking about, this entire idea, this also would get the knight away from being able to end up defending here.
There you go. Yep. So you see, you have the ability, I think it's also from experience because you've played a lot of games, you have the ability to see how a piece ties together, two parts of the position, which
Yes.
is, yeah. And so knight d5 is excellent. Now, if I take, you already said that you would be taking with the bishop. I'll let you have it because I feel as though that was very well done. Let's say with the black pieces here, I play the move queen d7. So
Mm.
I defend this.
Yep.
That's hanging, right?
Yes.
Should you take it?
My instinct without calculating it is no.
Okay, why?
Well, so if I take it and then the rook takes back,
Okay.
and then I take here, and the king moves away,
Mm-hmm.
then what? I don't know that it. Am I coming out ahead? I mean, I guess I'm coming out ahead in a literal sense.
When you
Maybe I
say
should
literal
take it.
sense, that means up material, right?
I'm up material, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I'm actually ending the game, and maybe I'm getting my pieces out of position for some future defense. I don't know.
So the way a chess, like, like for example myself, I'm looking at this position, I see bishop f7. That's a free pawn, is as far as I'm concerned, because I'm even skipping over the fact that the rook will take. Because if the rook takes, then the final position with the king here, and it's your move.
You're still better off.
Right. So the way you evaluate a position, I mean, the easiest way to think about this is, am I up material at the end of my idea? In this case, you are. You have a rook and a pawn for a bishop, which is a huge advantage. That's +4,
Yep.
which is that's almost like the game is over on the spot,
Right.
basically.
Well, if I were better, I've lost +4 more times than I can
I
imagine.
I know, but see, that's one of those like extra add-ons, right? When we
Yeah.
calculate, it's like, I'm not sure I can win this. Who the hell cares? You have to play it. It's the
Right.
best move. So you have to play the move bishop takes f7, and so you say, okay, am I +4? Yes. If not, that's when the position gets a little bit more confusing. If it's like, I'm +1, but is my queen overextended? Am I going to get
Right.
my queen trapped? So that kind of leads me to this, like if king h8. So I see
That's
someone in my
what that
chat.
was going to be my next question. So,
Mhm.
so now, essentially, I either need to move the queen in order to defend the bishop with something worth less than the queen,
Right.
or I need to, I don't know. I mean, attack the queen, but I can't really do that. So I'm not sure.
Right. So you're already starting to look, okay, I'm pinned. I can't move my bishop. Are you in danger?
Not really. No.
Yeah. And even if it was black's move, uh, I don't think black can do anything because you're defending this way too much.
Right.
So you have two you have two defenders on this position. So
Yep.
so you're not in danger. And you're up a pawn. You can't move for just a moment here. So what would be next? You don't need to go bishop e6 because you can calculate, well, if he takes my queen, I take his queen, but he's not going to do that. He's going to take the bishop.
Right.
And so, we don't have anything there. So,
Yep.
um, what what are you thinking here? Let's start thinking in terms of two or three different ideas, candidate moves.
Okay. So I would look at c3, but then I still have the move of the knight coming to c2 and then attacking the rook on a1, and then I've got to defend. Oh wait, no. Actually, I could take it with my queen,
Right.
and the bishop is still defended by the rook.
Okay, perfect. So does that mean you play c3, by the way?
Well, I would think about other moves first.
Exactly. So just because you found, your thought was, okay, he got knight c2, but I just take, okay, great, c3 is the best move in the position.
Right.
No, because then you could have missed something completely different, right? So
Yep.
so okay, c3. First of all, if not knight c2, what is he going to play?
If not knight c2, um, if not knight c2, I'm not sure. Uh,
He's got to go backwards.
yeah, I guess maybe knight c6 or knight b5.
Yeah, knight b5, knight c6, and actually this one you can make your life a lot simpler. Then you can just take,
Mm,
and then you
yeah.
would have the difference being that at least you're winning a knight for whatever it is that you were trying to do over here.
Right.
So c3 is a great move. You have other moves, but they're much more mysterious. For
Mm,
example, you can like probably play a move like this to just bring a rook. You can play a move like queen d2 as well, which gets out of this pin.
yes.
So queen d2 is probably the most natural, and it keeps this guarded.
Mm,
So that might be the move that gives you the least headache.
right.
Just queen d2, and and gets out of the way. Let's say you play c3 and I go here. Okay, so with these two moves, what has changed in the position?
The center is much more open.
Center's much more open, and in particular, what is attacking what now?
Now, what is attacking what? Now well, potentially there's this.
Okay, but it's, remember, the opponent just moved. So before you even think for yourself, look at what they're attacking now.
This pawn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what changed. Your pawn move weakened the next pawn. And so that's actually the threat. Because if you play bishop c5, by the way, calculate that for a second. So bishop c5, your opponent will play what?
Well, I mean, I guess would they take this?
Let's do that first. Yep.
Yeah. Then I take with the queen.
And what's changed? What's changed now after those bishops left the board?
Well, the pawn on d3 remains undefended.
Correct. And there's something else hidden. Always do like a little piece scan of is your bishop on f7.
Oh, now the queen has access to that square.
Yes.
The black queen, yeah.
Yes, and bishop c5 would actually tragically result in the loss of the bishop because that transformation added the queen. Yeah, and so from a distance, that's hard to see as you're moving up the ranks. The fact that movement, added that. However, it's very easy for your opponent. They don't have a big job. They just take the bishop and take the other bishop.
Yeah.
And that's where we make mistakes. We see things from the distance and
right.
They're kind of incorrectly stated. So that just means that this is a bad move, but we didn't play it. That was just an idea.
Right.
So we should keep this guarded. How do we do that?
Well, I mean, I could look at pushing that pawn.
Okay,
no, that's a terrible idea because my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces defending that square. Yeah, okay. So I don't want to do that.
Exactly. But it was an idea. Just because the idea doesn't work doesn't mean the player is like a moron. It just doesn't work. Okay, it might be a good move in another position.
Sure.
So how else?
I guess now I would think about bringing one of my rooks, probably the rook on A, in line with the queen. Yeah,
I think rook d1 is a perfectly reasonable move. Rook d1 defends this pawn. But there is something very evil here, which I will just show for instructive value.
Yep.
That bishop that you have pinned to your queen, how can your opponent add an attacker to it right now?
Right now, let's see. Oh, well, no, I'm not even sure, actually. Add an attacker to that. Oh, moving the knight back to d8.
Yeah, and that really sucks. I mean, that just sucks.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do because you need to invert these pieces. Like the rook should be before the queen.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, knight d8 is just... a backwards knight move that wins material is the hardest tactic. You'll hear this a lot. So that's actually the reason rook d1 is bad. But how can you tell that this is bad because of this? That it just has to do with the focus on the focal point of the position, which is this.
Yep.
At the moment. And so that is why, you should play a move like, queen to e2, for example, because that sidesteps this.
Yes.
And the way kind of I'm trying to intertwine more general things and kind of the general thought process to the game, because the truth of the matter is we have this position in front of us now, but you will never have this position ever again. Probably. That's how chess works. So you can't sit here and go, okay, I'm going to memorize
right, of course.
Yeah, it's more like, for the future, is this a good move? Yes. If you can find the follow-up to maintaining your pin here and getting out of the way. Is this a good move? Yes. I was most impressed with the fact that you found knight d5. I mean, that was that was amazing because it shows you understand the difference between this trade and a trade like this, which this accomplishes nothing for your position.
Right.
It just gets rid of, your bishop.
Yeah.
Exactly. So That's fantastic. And I mean, we can sort of pause here. And the way you kind of learn an opening and then practice the opening is you get the setup down a few times and you go and play, and you go scan how it's going. You go, am I playing it right? Uh, am I making the transition from the opening to the middle game correctly? Or hey, I lost in 7 moves. Like, you taught me some shit.
Right.
Like,
Well,
what was
so
it?
on that note, can we go back to the beginning just
Yes.
so we can talk through that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. So my goal, the goal for my second move
Mm-hmm.
is this, and I do that only if I am responding to e5 or in a number of different scenarios.
So exactly. So against e4, e5 primarily,
Okay.
but you can play this move against Sicilian as well.
Okay.
So knight c3, and we'll add that layer. But for now, let's focus on this one.
Okay. So at this point, knight to c3.
Exactly, knight to c3. Now, last time we looked at this knight, but we can also look at the bishop out.
Okay. Um, do I play my bishop out in this case?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Your game plan is going to be this kind of thing.
Yep.
So d3, f4, knight f3.
And then I guess the question is situations that would interrupt it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
okay, first and foremost, this crap.
Okay. So, um, I guess, I mean, is this what I'm looking to do here?
Yeah. So g3 is fine because this can't be taken.
Right.
That can't be taken. Probably the best move is to guard with the queen.
Oh, okay.
And but it's very, like, I'll say that g3 is completely fine as long as you understand that, when you put something on this square, it will be a little more vulnerable.
Yes.
So, your queen guards, but you should be a little bit careful. You might consider even, long castling.
Okay.
So just getting the king. I don't want to play a committal pawn move. So something like this,
Got it.
followed by this, the knight out, the bishop out. And notice how last time I told you it's about moving this f pawn forward.
Yeah.
Just because you can't get it doesn't mean the game is over. You just still follow, basic developing principles.
So that would be, this queen move would be sort of like an exception move where I would change my plan.
Yeah, if your opponent just goes for
Okay.
something ridiculous. Let me just play a natural developing move.
Yeah. So then at this point, I would play here.
Perfect. Yes. I will play d6.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So let's say I play knight c6.
Now I bring my knight out.
You bring your knight out. Exactly. I can play castles.
At this point, would I castle?
So here's the thing.
Oh, right. I can't castle right now. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, so this is common to this position, right?
Yes, it's actually not the end of the world, but this is kind of Black's most challenging approach.
Okay.
Black does not let you get exactly what you want.
Is this black playing perfectly in defense of the Vienna?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's kind of why I've added this element, is that now you don't just get to go here and then destroy.
Yep.
The best thing to do for you is to block out this bishop and open up the bishop coming to g5.
Okay. So at this point, I would play f5. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. f5 is the best move.
Okay.
There's no way to strike back in the center because you have that completely shut down. I don't want you to panic if you see this. So this kind of idea.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you just move your queen first.
Now, what is this? This is preferable to this?
Yeah, because then you would block your bishop.
Okay. Oh, right there. Okay. Fair. Yeah.
Exactly. So queen like this. If I jump in here with a knight, all that's doing is attacking a rook. So that
I move the rook, and I still eventually could castle over here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've already started making progress on this side of the board.
Yeah.
So I'm showing you this because, like, if you were a complete beginner, I wouldn't do this because I would say, like, okay, I need him to castle his king early, otherwise bad things are going to happen. But king in the center is fine as long as you have control of the position.
Yep.
And you do, because there's only three pieces. I will
Right.
go one more step to show you. What if I check you?
Um, I mean, I guess. So I guess these are my three options, right? Or I guess I could take this as well, and then I'm trading my queen for a bishop and a knight, which seems like that's not really a good move.
Yeah, no, we want to move the king for sure.
So I guess my instinct would be, so if I move here, I'm potentially connecting the rooks, except I'm blocking the bishop on this side. Eventually, I guess I could go over here. If I move the king over to d1,
Hmm.
then I'm allowing the bishop to develop sometime soon, which seems
Yep.
preferable, maybe.
Yes. And if you go, well, the thing is, it as far as the bishop developing, the king moving to either of those two squares is equivalent.
Okay.
But I think long term, if your king stands right here, it's not going to get to a side. It's still in the center.
Ah.
And so if you go to f1, when you kick this knight out, it can just hang out right there,
Okay.
and it's pretty safe. Now both of them are actually okay, but more than anything else, what I'm kind of trying to show here is that we're breaking one of maybe the rules that you have learned early on, which is you got a castle, you
Yeah.
gotta get the king safe, and we're adding a little bit of opening flair, so allowing our opponent to overextend into our position, but understanding that it's not actually any danger to us. It's just two random pieces, and our king is completely safe.
So one question here, just because I have this actually, if we're here,
Sure.
I very often will. Sometimes I'll just say, let me just attack the queen. Oh, it's not actually my turn right now. Okay, so let me go back. So attack the queen, knowing that this is coming, and then I just move back. Is there any real sense to doing that?
Well, that move at the moment is impossible. So bishop g5 is a fantastic move.
Oh, okay.
So you're a genius.
Okay,
Yeah,
this is
because
not normally the scenario I face, but this scenario where my bishop is defended by my knight in this position, and the queen can be easily defended by moving. Is this a wasted move for me?
so the way you can think about that is most likely yes. It
Okay.
is like a finesse that doesn't have to happen. However, sometimes it's very good. And so the way you got to think about that is what does them making like let's say this move is possible. What does them doing f6 do to the position? At an elementary level, you say, does that move like blunder a bunch of pieces?
Right.
If the answer is no, like let's say that move was legal,
Yep.
you would say, okay, well then I can like maybe move my bishop here and then I cover that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very smart. That would
Interesting.
it would be a tempo winning move. You would force your opponent to react to that move, and then you would retreat. Sometimes in chess, moves like this win the game. A move that you force a move out of your opponent and then retreat. But doing it for the sake of doing it usually bad unless you see exactly like what is next.
Okay.
I would say, yeah.
Got it. I mean, sometimes this type of thing can be used to potentially move two pawns out of place, which may be to my advantage. But I guess you're saying unless there's a real specific way that I know it's to my advantage, it's not really worth it.
Yeah, because again, if you apply the same logic, it's like, okay, well, if they do that, then great. But what if they don't?
Right.
And then if they do it, fantastic. But if they don't, then it might actually end up being a waste of a move.
Okay.
Now it's kind of more my job, I feel like, in this in these streams to give you multiple ideas and things to think about
Yes.
rather than okay, David, here's an opening and you must play this for the remainder of your life and the tournament. Because first of all, by the way, like let's put it this way, if if the show goes on and you play this opening, people are going to start seeing that
Yes.
and they will start training, and it's good to have options.
Right.
So another way to play this, if if you're maybe okay, find that you're a little uncomfortable opening up your king, is way back here to put the bishop in fianchetto style, King's Indian style,
Okay.
and prepare the f4 move a little bit more slowly. So I'll show you what that looks like. So something like this. So g3, bishop c5, like this, and then preparing this move by moving this and this,
Right.
and then that.
So that's more reminiscent of just a King's Indian Open.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's a little bit different than King's Indian, because in King's Indian you wait a very long time to actually play the e4 move.
Right.
So in a perfect world, what this looks like is something like this, where you actually castle. You move very far along in this whole process. You actually even move your king this way because you're out of the pin,
Mm.
and then something like this. You got this protected, and then and only then do you start, doing this kind of a thing,
Okay.
and this expansion. And it's kind of up to you. Like maybe you play one of them, but you don't like having an open king, so you would play this one. The good thing about this setup is you can play like this against the Sicilian also.
Okay.
So let's just play through that. I mean, I just showed it to you. So I'll play with the black pieces. Go for that setup with the bishop here. How would you?
Oh, okay.
Right. So in the Sicilian, it's not great to put the bishop on c4. Do you have any idea why?
Um, no, but I'm wondering if it has to do maybe with these pawns eventually coming forward.
Yes, it's the fact that the opponent never moved the e pawn, and so they can just go like this.
Right.
So a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people actually get asked this a lot. This thing, bishop c4, has a name, and different chess sites will pop the name up in the top right, and they'll go, "Do you know the bibbity boopity thing?" And I'm like, "I don't know what that is." So it turns out that there's a name to this move. And they'll say, "Well, I play this," and I say, "Well, it's not great, because then they can just go here."
Right.
Um, and then the chat will say, "Well, they never do that." And that's the age-old question. It's like, should you play something if it's bad, but no one plays the right way? I don't know. I don't know where you draw the line, but
But so that would be a modification where if I see that black is playing a Sicilian, instead of I would opt for the fianchetto.
exactly. And you
Okay.
could do this against the king's pawn, but if maybe you say, okay, against d45, I'm always putting my bishop here because it's more aggressive.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And you would set up, yeah, like we can play through this. Let's say I play like d6.
Okay.
Bishop g2, knight out.
So now I would play here?
You actually can. You can play that right away, and then you wouldn't even have to do this move.
Oh, okay. Oh, so in this setup, this is a possibility first. Yeah.
Yes. When the bishop is out in the king's pawn position, because obviously now we can't do that in the Sicilian.
Yeah.
You might have difficulty playing this move and then not having the right to castle. So as we've seen already in different versions of this opening, you might just have to go long.
Right.
You're not going to be able to castle short. But yes, knight e2 is possible. You want to play f4? Like totally. Let's go with this. So
Okay.
I'll play e6.
Okay. Oh, so I guess now I would play the knight.
You can play the knight, and also from moving the f pawn early that you can put the knight behind the pawn.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. Yeah, I guess I didn't necessarily think it was better in this position to do that, but you think it would be.
It's your call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do either. So if you play the pawns out like this,
Yeah.
then knight f3 is totally okay.
So sometimes in these positions, I end up just struggling to do anything with this bishop, and it's almost like a dead piece sometimes. And very often, like if something like this were to happen, I end up having a situation where, other than undeveloping, my only move is basically just to leave it attacked by this bishop.
Yes, and I'm sure you've actually also seen that from the King's Indian on the other side.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a long-term piece that's going to stand on that square. Like you're going to have to try to open the position.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I've been pushing it toward this, but it's hard to maximize the piece when it stands on g2. So there's pros and cons. This is more solid for your king, whereas this is a little bit more more active for the bishop, but your king has potential weaknesses. Actually, like I told you before the show, like I have chats open, somebody saying, let you play a game out. What's going to happen is you're going to play this too early and your king is going to get too weak. Well, that's how you learn an opening. You've got to play it and you got to go, okay, this game I did something stupid and I need to you're going to get into some sort of trouble.
Yeah.
So but that's how you have to play through things. Let's also just give you a couple of things with the pawn coming here, whether immediately or, the French and the Caracan.
Mm-hmm.
How much experience do you have playing against all of these openings with like the pawn coming to d5?
I mean, so the D5 pawn is what I have the most experience with. I
Okay.
certainly I've dealt with this. I just don't have any strategy, so it doesn't stick in my mind as something, that I know what I even play. I sort of am like gonna figure it out as I go along situation.
Okay, got it. So essentially, these two want to push, the French and the Caracan. They want to push the pawn here and then have a pawn supporting, obviously. Whereas this guy is saying, I watched the John Bartholomew video, and so now I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring the queen out, and then actually, oftentimes, as you said, the queen goes all the way to the side or all the way back.
Yep.
And then easy development after that. So what I recommend against this is actually, rather than chase the queen right away, just get your king castled.
Oh, okay.
So knight f3,
Yep.
and then bishop e2, and just do this.
Okay.
Because people freak out unless their queen, if their queen doesn't get attacked, they'll actually just do something weird and malfunction.
Mm.
So for example, knight f6, go ahead. So bishop e2. Let's say same. I just develop, and then my goal here is, before you put this knight here, the knight would be a lot more powerful in the center of the board with two pawns there.
Right.
So that's what I like to do against the Scandinavian. I'll put
Now,
two pawns.
would you chase the queen away right away?
So I like to veil this threat by playing something like d4 first,
Oh, okay.
because that still keeps this on the board.
Right.
And in the future, if they play inaccurately, like let's say, I don't know, they something like this, like they don't, now you have this and that,
Right.
and there you go. So you have the ability to veil the c4 push and then push the d pawn forward, and now you're, attacking straight down the middle of the board.
Makes sense. Okay, so the big change for me is that typically
You attack the queen.
I attack the queen. Yeah.
Yes.
So instead here, the idea is I'm playing here, 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 and then castling.
Yes, exactly. You're not
Okay.
actually playing into the attack of the queen. You're just going to get developed, and then two pawns in the center.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Against the others like this, well, it's generally good practice to put two pawns in the center of the board.
If it's possible without losing one of them, you put two pawns in the center.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you don't need to go for this whole setup thing. We only do that against those two.
Okay.
So king's pawn and Sicilian. So I would put two pawns in the center. So you should play d4, and then on d5, what's called like a placeholder. So I'll just show this to you as a for now, and then get some more games under your belt, and we'll kind of start adding on, because I don't want to throw, heaps and heaps of information. Just take the pawn.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Typically in this position, I've just been pushing this pawn forward. But again, I don't really have a strategy. It's just like I'm kind of, figuring it out.
Yes, exactly. So that is a perfectly challenging weapon. For now, though, a French defense player, you have to understand, when you play this and you're saying I'm figuring it out, they've done some study.
Ah, right. They know exactly what to do.
They're gonna go here, and you're like, okay, I guess I should defend my center. And they're like, all right, perfect. That's chapter 3 of my course. Boom, and you're like, etc., etc. So
Right.
the easiest thing, just for now, let's trade.
Yep.
And let's just get castled. So here, bishop, castle.
Okay. Now, in this position, is there ever any point to this check?
Aha, no.
Okay, good.
Yes, no. Well, that was two confusing answers back to back, but the answer is no. The only benefit to a straight down check like this is if you develop your pieces and castle and they don't. So something like, I don't know, this.
Mm-hmm.
The rook check is very strong.
Okay. Okay.
The queen check is not, because the queens can just get traded.
Right.
This is very different. And what you're doing now is you're actually starting to punish them for being lazy in the opening. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say they play bishop e6. You can already go after this bishop. How?
Like this?
Bishop f5 is one way. What's another way?
Another way would be Here?
Yes, perfect. Which of those do you think is better?
Um, Maybe with the knight.
Okay, now tell me why.
Well, because I'm forcing, if I do take here, I'm attacking the queen, which means essentially this move is almost guaranteed to happen. I guess I can plan around it better than if I leave other options. I don't know.
No, that's I think that's the best explanation. And also we can also think about it from the perspective of the end game is that your bishop
Ah,
will
right. Okay.
will just be a long range piece. Bishop
Yeah.
f5 is also a very reasonable move,
Okay.
and the threat is to just win the pawn. So
Yeah.
bishop takes and so on. So
Yep.
yes, queen check, not quite, but
Okay.
this rook check, yes, absolutely,
Got it.
it is always vicious. Now we can do this. So whenever you're doing a lesson stream and you play a game like on chess.com and we play through it together to talk you through a thought process, it's not, I mean, you can't do that. So your opponents will get a rating refund.
Mm.
And so that just allows us to play through a full game and you get to kind of talk your thought process out to me. And I get to tell you, okay, this is good. This is not so great.
Yeah.
So if you want to, uh, can you seek a 15-10 game? Do you even have any 15-10 games like
I
ever
don't
played?
think so. I
Oh,
don't know that I have any.
yeah. So you're provisional. You're 1178 rapid. So seek a 15-10 game and I'll follow you.
Okay,
And then
15-10. Oh, and you know what? If we're going to do this, I should actually shut something off that otherwise will go off while we're playing this.
oh, okay.
Yeah, give me 15 seconds just to step
Okay.
away and do something here. Let me see how to do this. Here we go.
Hello. I've been left alone with both streams. Or maybe I got muted. Did I get muted? So much power right now. You guys enjoying the show? Is this going on YouTube? What's YouTube? Mine, yes. It's tough because you have to do openings to start. Like openings are always a good starting point. Different grandmasters say different things, different title players say different things, but openings are a really good way to confidently start the game and understand what you're doing early on. Because chess should not be a mystery. You shouldn't be reinventing the wheel. Chess is not a game that requires that. Let's put it this way. So you should be confident starting out the game and then adding on all the extra layers. That's how I approach it anyway.
My laundry would have gone off and it would have been so embarrassing. It was in speaking of endgame, my laundry was in the endgame there. Okay, so explain so basically if I play this and then we're talking through it, it's sort of like even though it's rated, it's not really rated.
Yeah, I mean, I'll literally just DM somebody from staff and be like, okay, this person played, me and you. So,
Got it.
uh,
So someone has challenged me to 15-10. Do I just hit? Should I just seek randomly or accept
you
this
should seek
challenge?
randomly, yeah, because people are gonna snipe you, and
Okay.
like, I don't think we're gonna have this problem, but when the big gaming channels would play, they would get like literally somebody who's 800 points underrated or using an engine or
Yeah.
cheating,
Got it.
So,
All right, let's do it. Here we go.
okay, well, okay, you have white, so I like how his
Okay.
name is only toxic 134. So you
All
would
right,
play,
perfect.
start out with e4, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so Sicilian.
Okay, so I still play my knight out to c3,
Yes, that's exactly what we talked about.
but
Perfect.
I'm not going to do this.
So I don't see your arrows, but if you say the moves
Oh.
out loud, I will.
Okay, I'm not going to bring my bishop out to c4.
Nope. Let's see what he does. I mean, you will
Yeah.
if he plays e5. If he
Right.
plays on e5, yeah, but he'll probably play. Yeah, so most people play knight c6. So now just
Okay.
g3. So it's a very non-confrontational opening, if you get
Yes,
what I'm
that's what I
saying. So,
like.
okay, so you prefer that.
I don't know. I mean,
Uh,
sure, why not? Okay, so now I fianchetto my bishop.
yeah, so bishop g2 is the plan. Monitoring, each of his moves to see. Now he'll probably play e6 or g6 or d6. Okay, he played
Okay.
one of those two.
So now I would play f4.
You can, yeah. f4 is perfectly reasonable right now.
Okay.
So you already have some ideas. For example, if it was your move right now, what would you play?
Well, the old me would maybe look at pushing to e5 up until that happened.
What do you mean the old you? That's the best move.
Oh, well, not anymore, though.
Not the best. Yeah, not anymore.
No, not anymore. Okay, so now I would bring the knight out. I mean, I guess I would bring it out to f3.
Yeah, exactly. So you're blocking your bishop, but the other knight covers the center.
Yes.
Yep. So this is so far so good. Very passive position for black.
Mm-hmm.
Very passive. So let me move the clocks down. Why are my clocks so high up? Okay, that is the first move you actually kind of have to think about. Like,
okay, so my instinct, just on my chess personality, is not to take the pawn on e5 because it's defended by my g pawn, and to try to play a move that helps me, like maybe castling.
Okay, so that's one of those more general, like kind of inner, kind of frameworks you have, which you did say earlier. You don't want to trade too quickly. Remember what we talked about with the Vienna system?
Yes.
You would rather take that pawn with something like your dark squared bishop on c1.
You're saying if that pawn were to be taken, it would be good to have my d pawn out of the way so that the bishop could be used to capture back.
Yes, so something like d3 here is
right.
one of the moves. You don't want to take back on f4 with the pawn because in the future you won't have the f file.
Right. Okay. So d3 would be a reasonable move here.
Yes, d3 would for sure. And just in case anyone is concerned, I already sent staff a message. But listen, this frankly speaking is it's the best way to learn the game.
Yes.
Especially if you're getting some form, like it has to be through the actual live thing. Okay, that is a move, I suppose.
So this is actually, we had something similar earlier where there would be really no idea for me of taking with my knight on d4, because then as soon as the pawn captures back, the other knight is under attack.
Yeah, exactly. Like this trade is on d4 in particular is not, it's not bad for you, but it's also not very obviously good for you either.
Yep.
So what are your ideas here?
Well, I mean, I could put a second attacker on d4 by playing my dark squared bishop to e3, but there's two pawns defending that square, so I don't know that that's really a great idea. I could castle.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could play f5 maybe.
Okay, so taking some space.
Yeah.
Ooh, f5 is an interesting move. It's a very committal move.
Yes.
Don't forget, you also have something else with your f pawn in these positions.
I could take.
Right, and so if you take, and he takes back on e5, you have...
I have a free pawn, right, with my knight.
Yeah, and so the right move for him, and that's actually something like a byproduct of what he did. He played too many repetitive moves. Notice how he moved his pawn twice and then his knight twice. You can't do that. Like, you can't play. There's got to be something. So take the pawn with your pawn. You can sort of punish mistakes very early on. Now, everything else you said, bishop e3 and castles and f5, all good moves.
Okay.
All good moves. So his best move here is to take your knight.
Right. Because then that's no longer going to be a pawn I can take, yeah.
Yes, but how many moves with the knight did he make already?
That'll be the third one.
And now it's gone.
Yeah.
So he's only helping you, really.
Right.
Like a guy who's like, developing the knight, jumping it forward, and taking your knight has no idea what they're doing. I mean, they're just. So let's see if he
Well, I
does
mean,
that.
in his defense, I have no clue what I'm doing too. Let's not.
You're too humble, I think. It's good to be humble,
Okay,
though.
so now I have to take with my bishop, obviously.
Why?
Oh well, actually, well, I don't. I can take with the queen. Oh,
You
actually,
should
that
take with the
seems
queen.
better. I think I prefer to take with the queen, and then this knight is also still under attack.
Yes, queen is best.
Yeah.
Queen is best. You're gonna notice this a lot. Now you say, "Well, my light squared bishop's not great." You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but that's just part of this setup. Okay, so he takes. Again, what are your options here?
Um. Well, let's see. I mean, now might be a good time to bring the knight out, and maybe now is a good opportunity to pin the f6 knight to the queen, and maybe force some pawn move to try to attack my bishop or something like that.
So bishop g5 in and of itself is a very good move. But if he plays h6, you can't hang around. Like
Right.
you either have to take the knight. You can't go to h4 because you actually get
Yeah,
trapped.
I get trapped. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what are the pros and cons of playing bishop g5 and then taking on f6?
Of bishop g5. Well, I mean, I guess the pro would be I'm simplifying, and maybe I have the initiative and I'm the one forcing some of the way the game is going to go. I guess the downside is I'd prefer to have the bishop myself available for later in the game.
Yeah, so that's actually a correct like con. It's like you're giving away the bishop, but for for a pro, simplifying is not a like that's not a it's only a pro to simplify the position if you're winning already. So if you're up material, you're simplifying, okay, that's good. But there is no real way to say I'm simplifying the position when it's equal, therefore it's better for me.
Right.
What you're doing there when you take on f6, you're hurting his pawn structure.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is he's going to double his f pawns. And when he doubles his f pawns, the light squares in his position, like d5, f5, are going to be clear targets. And if he's doubling his f pawns, you have an open f file.
Right.
So you can play bishop g5.
Now, the other thing I would think about would be bishop to e3.
Bishop e3 is also an excellent move.
So what would be a way I could decide which is preferable? I mean, I guess I guess the idea of taking on f6, if I'm committed that would be my plan, then it makes sense to do that because it's a specific idea, maybe?
Well, the way we talked about it, yes, but he also can play bishop e7. When you move your bishop out, he can
right.
also and then your bishops would kind of clash.
So I think I probably prefer bishop to e3.
So do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially you're not what you're doing here, the way you can think about this conceptually, you're not making a committal decision just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna go bishop g5, then I'm gonna castle, then I'm gonna play knight d5, and I'm gonna just destroy him. Well, yes, but let's pretend our opponent is not a moron. Like that's the most important thing that we have to do. So, okay, by the way, he played bishop e7. Now my question is, which way do you want to castle?
So I in this position, I would probably go long only because in looking at it, some of the pieces that would immediately be protecting the king, I'm going to want to use for an attack.
Okay.
And so it feels safer to go long.
Okay. Now I'm going to urge you to start thinking about what that checks, captures, attacks. If you castle queenside, look for an attacking move for your opponent. Do you see one?
If I castle queenside,
he has a move that puts you in danger.
On the queens, if I castle queenside.
Yes, only if you castle queenside.
Is it queen to a5?
Well, does that move attack any piece?
I guess not. Well, I mean, it attacks the knight, but it's obviously, it's defended by the pawn.
Yeah, so we'll skip that. So it's not even attacking it. And it's also not attacking the pawn in the corner because the same knight is guarding.
Right.
So it's not queen a5.
Is it bishop e6?
Well, no, because the same thing. The knight is guarding. Yeah. Black has one move and only one move, which actually creates a material threat to you. Like quite literally puts something in danger.
Would it be knight to d5? No.
No, not knight c5.
Queen, well, now queen b6 wouldn't be it either. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure.
Bishop g4.
Bishop to g4. Ah, okay.
And so you might say,
Because
well,
then I can move the queen, but I lose the rook.
yes, that is extremely difficult to see.
Yep.
I actually almost wanted to let you play long castle just to see if it would happen, but I don't want you to be like, what the hell, man?
Yeah. Okay, so that's not a good idea.
So you can prepare long castling by making bishop g4 impossible. So how would you prevent bishop g4?
Prevent bishop g4. Well, I mean, I guess I would move the queen now.
You don't have to. You just prevent, you cover the square one more time.
Maybe with the h-pawn?
h3.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's go for that and see what happens.
And I see folks in my chat saying, like, I wouldn't have seen that. Of course, because long castles and bishop g4 don't look... Now, let me ask you, did you see bishop g4 by itself, just a move that could attack your queen?
No, not at all.
Okay, so that's how we're going to win this tournament. We have to... The best chess games, the players are envisioning moves for each other the entire time.
Right.
And if there's one skill that you'll pick up, it's spotting stuff for your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So castles, now you can do long castles as you were planning. Well, this is, by the way, this is why 15 minutes is so great. Cause,
yeah, right. The game would be over with a shorter format.
Yeah, we would have played like 4 games already. But yes, guys, we keep talking about the tournament. There's like nothing out yet, but David is gracious enough to join for potential as a PogChamps invitee. So bishop e6 is a very good move. Now is a really, really tough spot.
Yeah.
What do you play?
So I usually am unsure what makes sense to play here. I think my instinct would be to either push my g-pawn or play b3.
So b3, you're playing because you're blocking his bishop.
Right.
But b3 does nothing.
Right. And I'm defending the a pawn with my knight anyway.
Yes, exactly. So he's not actually threatening the pawn on a2.
Right.
g4 is the best move.
g4. Oh, okay. All right.
It's the best move. I mean, the thing is, you castled on opposite sides, and when you do that, it's a pact, and the pact is to attack the guy.
Okay.
So yeah, g4 for sure is for sure the best move. Who do you think has a better position here?
I mean, I guess I think I maybe do. The knight on f6 can't really go too many places. One of their bishops is blocked in by the c-pawn. So I think, I mean, it seems like I maybe have more opportunity for initiative here.
Wow, b5 is a very aggressive move. Okay, first things first. Is that a free pawn?
Well, let's see. If I take it, is it a free pawn? It looks, no, because then I lose the a pawn.
First of all, a2 does hang, and second of all, it's just a very dangerous pawn to take. I mean, it's a move that accomplishes nothing except opening up the position for your opponent.
Right.
So then they play queen a5. Then they play rook b8.
Yep.
So yeah. Now you might say, well, I have to, if that pawn comes forward, it's going to attack my knight. That's correct. But weren't you the one attacking a move ago?
Right.
So
I mean, I might now play g5.
You have to play g5. Yes.
Okay.
Because you're striking first.
My instincts aren't terrible, right?
Your instincts are fantastic. Terrible.
Somehow I end up losing all the games, but I feel like there's a certain point at which my principles are helping, but then it just falls apart. We'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, but that's chess. You know, you can play 40 good moves, one bad one, and you lose the game.
Right.
That's absolutely. It's why people hate chess and love it, I suppose. So. No, but I completely understand. And I have had games like that. And the worst part is that, you know, chess.com 2+1 game is one thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you play a chess game and you spend 7 hours and you don't win.
Right.
And well, that sucks.
Yeah, that's another story. That's a big matzo ball hanging out there.
I had matzo ball soup for lunch today, so.
Oh, no way. You know what place in Manhattan has great matzo ball soup? It's probably closed because of coronavirus. It's called Jack's Wife Frida.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been there. It's a brunch spot in Soho.
It's one gigantic matzo ball is the only thing.
Oh, I've never had their matzo ball soup, but
Yeah.
I have had brunch there.
Yeah.
Uh, where That's one thing I didn't stalk well enough. You're not from New York. You're from Where are you from?
I'm from Argentina.
You're in Argentina now?
No, no, no.
Oh no,
I live in Boston now, but I'm from
oh okay.
I lived in New York for 2 years though.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, there you go. Now let me ask you a question. The move 98. What is Black doing? Is Black attacking anything?
Um, yes, because now the bishop, the dark squared bishop, could take my pawn, and if I take back with my bishop, then I lose the bishop to the queen.
Very good. So see, that's something that we uncovered last analysis. Knight
Yeah.
moves, pieces attacking has nothing to do with the knight. Okay, so you can defend that pawn in a few ways. You actually have to because there's no point losing that pawn.
Yeah, I mean, there's h4 or moving my queen to g3 or even to h5 if I wanted.
Oh, actually, interesting. Queen h5. Yeah. I only looked at queen g3 and h4. Which move do you like the most?
Probably h4.
Okay, so play it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna get to the point where I'm gonna walk you through a thought process, and I'll let you play a move. And
Yep.
if you blunder, you blunder, because I can't
Yeah.
literally play every move.
Got it. Yep.
But so far, your instinct is absolutely right.
And I'm in between moves. I am dropping the ban hammer on people for anti-Semitism in the chat, so that's just an added activity that's happening.
Oh, terrific! Yeah, I do. So okay, I'll talk after your move is played. So he's attacking your knight. What should you do with your knight?
Well, I probably put it on e2.
Okay, if you put it on e2, what's your opponent gonna do?
What is my opponent going to do?
Well, you
Maybe bring the queen.
no, you
out
told me
somewhere?
before. You told me before. What's he gonna do? He's attacking something. Your knight has been a focal point of defense.
Oh, then he's going to take the pawn. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the only way to move your knight and prevent that from happening?
Probably moving the knight itself to d5.
You got that exactly.
But now potentially I lose a. Oh no, I don't lose a pawn. Oh no, because of my queen there. Okay, good.
Yeah, you're well protected. You actually have 3 guards on that knight: the pawn, the
Right.
queen, and the bishop.
Yep.
It's interesting. It's interesting you said. So I guess that's something you have to face a lot. I'm not. I'm also not particularly religious, but I think getting flamed for Judaism is not. I don't face it as intense. I get other things. I think in the chess Twitch world we get other insults.
Right.
But I have gotten that one as well. Yes, for sure. Okay, Queen A5. What
Okay,
is the
so
threat?
I guess the threat would be centering on a2 eventually.
Okay.
Um,
And so what is your best move in this position?
would it be king b1 potentially?
That looks like the only move. So,
Okay.
yeah, king b1.
Really in the nitty gritty now of the middle game.
Yes, very much so. So checks, captures, attacks is something that's gonna have to stick. So queen a5, you respected his threat, but you didn't look at yours. You had
Queen
something.
a5.
His queen used to guard somebody.
There's now a free bishop, which I can no longer take because I've lost. So now I have to take back.
Yes, you have to take. But I wanted you to play. Everyone in my chat's like, you idiot! You didn't let him take the bishop. I'm like,
Yeah.
I am aware. So, yes, the bishop was free. So knight d6. And so every move, you're gonna have this background mental scanner of, can I take something for free or something? Like bishop takes pawn for you right now is obviously not free.
No.
Well, then we know it's gonna be a bloody two-sided attack of the chessboard. So what's a candidate move to continue some sort of attack?
Well, I guess I could look at queen e4.
Queen e4.
I could look at
Careful.
queen f2 in order to put the pawn in danger because the queen would no longer be able to defend it.
Right, queen f2 is a very good move. Queen e4 was a one-move blunder.
Oh no, I would be giving away the queen. Now
Yes.
I've learned that some chess players at a certain point in the game you want to just give your queen away. Is that a move that you favor or not really?
It depends. This is always the golden chess answer. It's
All
in
right,
this
I am going to
position,
play
no.
this way.
Yes,
Okay, in
queen
this
f2 because
position I don't. You let me know when I want to give the queen away, and then I'll do it.
yeah, no, not right now, please. We have a good thing going for us. So queen f2, the thing is, with queen f2, you completely shifted your focus to the other side of the board.
Right.
And he's going to get a little aggressive now, too. So, do you think you have to take that pawn? Because if you don't, what is he going to do? You think he's going to take your pawn or push his pawn?
I think probably push.
Right, so you should probably just take. It's just
Okay.
not, yeah. So you see, you have a defensive sense. Like the guy wants to push and open up your king. He's going to take this with the knight.
Yep.
When he takes with the knight, is he attacking anything?
Not directly. I mean, I can take can't take the bishop. It would be a trade bishop for which I would rather not do since I'd rather keep my bishop.
Okay, so you're saying you want to play a move like a bishop all the way back to c1.
That's not the type of move I would normally play. My instinct would be to play b3 and then potentially end up trading on e3, even though I don't really want to.
So my mini lesson in and of itself here is going to be never push pawns where you're being attacked.
Okay.
Because it's just going to weaken your position further. Like if you play b3, he won't even take your bishop. He'll go all the way to the left and he'll check your king.
So I think I will move the bishop back then.
Okay, so bishop c1 is probably fine. So just go ahead and play it.
Okay.
And I get because we have 10-second bonus per move.
Yep.
But the move bishop back to c1, logically speaking, you're like, I don't want to trade my bishop for his knight. But at the same time, me playing devil's advocate, his knight is attacking your king as well. So if he traded the knight for the bishop, he would lose an attacking piece.
Yeah, and the queen by itself is not going to be able to do that much unless the bishop ends up or the rook gets involved.
Okay, but the rook,
well.
there's no threat. I mean, it's still behind a pawn. So we were still attacking. I'm going to urge you to keep thinking about we have to attack as well. It's opposite side castling. So how are we going to do that?
Well, I could play d6, but it would just I don't know if that really benefits me very much.
It doesn't. Let's keep focusing on that pawn storm on the king, exactly like he's doing, because we did it a little bit.
Maybe h5.
You got to go h5 and g6. Yeah, you got to crash through. So this is called a pawn storm, and it's. I think that's like, I'm not sure that's the official term, but it's a very easy way to remember this. Okay, very aggressive. You have to take it. Can
With
you
the
tell?
c pawn?
Sure. I'm going to be completely honest. There's no difference.
There's no difference. Okay.
C doesn't open the A file, so it might make you feel inherently a bit more safe.
Yes, that was my thought.
Yeah, but C is C and A actually, I think, just optically. By the way, now you're attacking his knight. So
yep.
He's poking the wood of the fireplace, and he just got ashes like spewed toward him.
If the knight moves, which I assume it will, I would be looking at maybe attacking the queen with bishop on c2, although I think it would just move. I don't know that it would do that much long term for me.
Right, you got to focus on where are you the strongest? Where is like the bread and butter of your position?
It seems on FGH.
So you got to focus. Yes.
Yeah.
So you got your next moves will be g6, something on that side of the board. Don't just get distracted with, oh, I have this attack on his queen and it's a safe move, so I'm going to play it, because that's not. He'll just move his queen, just like you said.
Yep.
And yeah, now he's thinking. Finally, the guy. So my favorite. They play really fast. They screw up, but then they think.
I know we're talking about g6, but I would also maybe be thinking about bishop to e4.
Oh. Okay, that's a very, very aesthetic move, bishop e4, because it hits the corner pawn.
Right.
The only reason I haven't been talking about it is because I feel like he'll move his knight in front of your pawn, and then you won't be able to play bishop e4. However,
in which case I would probably go g6.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you a question. If you play h6 instead of g6, what's he going to do?
Probably just play g6.
Yeah, and then how are you going to get through?
I don't know.
Right, which is why the move that hits both pawns is usually better.
Okay.
Because that way you will force a trade.
Right.
But there's still some stuff to to look at there. If you look at the move that he just played, b3. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
he did play that move.
Yep.
So g6 right now. What will he take with?
Well, I would assume he would take with the F pawn to do a discovered attack on my queen.
Wow, you okay? All right, so you just skipped everything. So instead of getting hit with a discovered attack, why don't you just sidestep that first?
By moving the queen.
Yeah. What do you think the best queen move is?
Um,
It's amazing how you just saw like
maybe C2.
So c2, it's a line up to h7.
Yeah.
What's he gonna play if you put the queen out in the open like that?
Probably rook to C1.
Yeah, rook c8, but yes.
C8, sorry. Yeah.
You see, like that's how chess works. I don't want to play queen c2 because he's gonna play rook c8. So what will you play instead?
Maybe queen D2.
To offer a queen trade.
Oh no, that's not what I was.
Oh.
No, not actually. That's not what I was thinking. What about maybe queen to H4? So then it's lined up with my rook.
I like that, but then you can't go g6.
Okay.
Because you're pinning yourself.
Right. So E2.
E2, G3, yeah, but see, like that's exactly how it works. Yeah, just go to E2 for now.
Okay.
And then we'll have to play a few more moves fast because this guy.
Yep.
That's what I mean. Like even in rapid, you got guys that just play so fast, and I don't get it. But
so now I'm looking for G6 if possible.
that's probably your next move. Not to mention, isn't Queen takes E5 also a threat? Aren't you threatening to win a second pawn? Yeah.
It is.
Queen D2 was a great move. Simplifying when you're up material. Okay, he plays it himself. That's a horrible move. What do you think you should do?
Well, I like taking the pawn and attacking the undefended bishop.
That's fantastic.
Okay.
Wow. I thought you were going to go, well, he played G6. Now that plays right into my plan. But you left it there for a moment. And you said, if I take, his bishop's not guarded. That's perfect. So you're not getting tunnel vision with, I gotta take on G6 no matter what.
Right.
Not to mention that now when he pushed his G pawn forward, he's got dark squared weaknesses near the king. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Essentially 3 light squared pawns, the way he has, means that the light squares near his king are well protected, but the dark squares have no one guarding them.
Right.
Oh, okay, that guards the bishop. I was like, what is he doing? Okay, should you take on G6 or should you push your H pawn?
My instinct is to push the H pawn because then it could be made on G7.
Okay, so play it. It's almost a completely forced win. I think HG was better simply because if you play H6, okay, well, he immediately makes a mistake, but he had knight F5. So now the question is, should you take this F pawn? What should you do with your queen?
So if I check on E6, then it's either moving the knight to block or moving the rook to block or moving the king over to H8. There's kind of a bunch of options. So I'm thinking probably take with the pawn and then take the...
And then figure
maybe
it out.
check. Then maybe check.
Sure.
Yeah.
So take. Like, both those moves, you can't quite figure out everything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you just play the simple move, especially in time trouble. Like, you don't need to create something beautiful.
Yep.
I have a prediction. So rook F6 is the best move. I have a prediction. If he plays bishop F6, he's going to be like, I'm attacking his queen. Okay, he does play rook F6. The queen's going to need a little bit of reinforcement.
So I would play rook to D1.
Rook to, you already...
I'm sorry, to E1.
Sure. Yeah. So you're not threatening to take anything just yet? Because somehow everything in his position is well protected.
Well, I'd be thinking about bishop to G5 next.
Well, I have a question. Why didn't you just play that on this move?
Yeah, actually, that would have been a better move.
Well, yes, it looks like it wins by force. Black has a really, really rook F5 is a
So
move.
I think now check with the queen.
Okay. I'm wincing, but only because I don't want to give away all the solutions.
Oh, wait a second. No. Got it.
It's
Okay,
mate.
that was mate in one. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So your H pawn push a while ago.
That was the right move.
it set it up. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so he exactly.
Yeah.
Very nice. So queen e6, and the game goes on. So I can't, if I make moves on the board on my end, you won't see them. So if I'm just gonna kind of verbally tell you to like back up to a certain move.
Okay.
So instead of rook e1 on move 28,
Right.
if you played bishop g5 right away,
Yep.
that move looks like it completely wins because it destroys everything. Because if the rook moves to any square besides f7, it's mate.
Right.
And if it does go to f7, then what's like the simplest thing here for white to do to pick up material?
If it goes to f7, if it goes to f7, do I take the bishop with my bishop?
And then the next move?
Well, I'm guessing that then he takes with the one of these rooks.
And then your next move is?
I could take the knight.
Good. So takes. Easy.
Yeah.
You win a knight.
Yeah.
And everything in your position is completely safe. Exactly. So bishop g5 looks like it wins the game on the spot. And the reason I said like yes, but no, at sub 2000, bishop g5 wins on the spot. I think right around 2000, black might find a defensive move here that keeps the game going. Do you think you can find it using what you know about tactics? So I'll add in here, you're attacking his rook, but danger levels.
Would maybe he try to fork my bishop and queen with his rook, because then the rook is protected by the knight?
Well, he did that in the game, but then what did you play?
Oh wait, did he? Hold on.
Because he played rook f5, but he can't because that opens up.
Oh no, I meant rook to f5 rather than rook to f7.
I know, but in the game he played rook f5, and then you mated him with queen g7.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's not what the rook f5. Oh, okay, yeah. The moves got confused here. Okay, so we're going back to move 28. And your question was if he played rook to f7?
So we looked at rook to f7, and it doesn't quite work because you take the bishop and you take the knight.
Yes.
But in this position, he has a tactical trick, and it's essentially like the concept of danger levels. So you're attacking his rook with your bishop, right?
Yes.
He can ignore the attack on the rook if he can attack something in your position that's worth more than a rook.
I guess so, knight to f7?
Exactly. And that move, like, just a little bit prolongs the game.
Right, because I can't do a check on b8 because then I lose the queen. I can't take the bishop because then I lose the queen. I guess I would... Yeah, what would I do here?
You'd probably move the queen and guard the bishop so you don't lose it for free.
Okay, so like queen to g3 or something.
Queen g3, queen e3, yeah. And you might even have... I mean, we can even argue that you can sacrifice your queen right now. Like if you played bishop takes rook.
Yep.
And he takes your queen.
And then I take back.
But like, again, no need.
Yep.
This is a no-need situation. It's still winning. And in fact, it's just kind of good in this position to practice evaluation of a position.
Yeah.
Why is this position still winning for white?
In a general sense?
Yeah, like so using like material, for example, if you sacrifice your queen, you're up 1 point of it, so it's not anything substantial.
Right.
That goes first, material. Second thing is king safety. One of the players in this position has a terribly weak king.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I have the king on the back rank, but both of my rooks are on the back rank right now. So there's no super easy way, I guess, to attack my king.
Exactly. Yep. That's it. And I mean, black's king on g8 can be attacked. How? Let's say not right now, but in a move or two. How would you get to the black king?
You mean no longer targeting g7?
Yeah. If the queen has been sacrificed, let's say.
Oh, okay. So let's play it. So I would take sacrifice here. I mean, I guess I would start moving my rooks to open files, right?
So rook f1. Rook f1's a good idea. If I said you have to check the black king in 2 moves, how would you do it?
I have to check the black. I guess I would play d6 and then bishop to d5.
How do you always find like the most advanced solution first?
Because then I guess, yeah, well.
I was thinking bishop h3, bishop e6.
Bishop h3. Bishop h6. Wait, no, say that again.
So instead of pushing the pawn and then moving the bishop to that diagonal
Yeah.
where you hit the king, you can move your light squared bishop out to h3
Yep.
and then to e6.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. And then it's sort of the same thing. So
yeah.
Rook c1 and rook all the way down is the other way.
Rook c1.
And then rook all the way down to c8.
Oh, okay. I hypothetically played the black rook to c7, so it would prevent that. But if my opponent played something else, then I would go to c1 and then down to c8. Okay, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That makes sense. Yep.
By the way, you suggested this move, pawn to d6. Right?
Yes.
You still have the position on the board with the bishop in the center, and then you sacrifice the queen, right?
Yes, and I just took the knight.
Yes.
Yep.
So when you go d6, what pieces see each other? For both sides, white and black's pieces, they can see each other.
What pieces see each other? Well, I guess it depends on what black moves before I play d6, right?
No. Well, let's say black just does like something completely random. So
like
a6.
Pushing a pawn. Okay, yeah.
Pawn to a6.
And then I play d6. What? Well, now there's a discovered attack on my opponent's rook on b7 from my bishop.
Yep.
And
your pawn is attacking the dark squared bishop.
Yeah, and my bishop is under attack by the queen.
That is the bonus, yes. You're still completely winning because the rook is hanging and your pawn's about to like take everything and become a queen. But just noticing that pushing a pawn opens up the queen from the side is another thing that, pattern recognition will pick up.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, this is essentially how you how you have an introductory kind of lesson. Like, we have to start somewhere.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So we took a look at some different openings. Let me know if you had like specific questions that you wanted answered before you just get off and practicing on your own, whether on stream.
No, I mean this is definitely a lot to think about. So I'll save some of my my written down questions for the next one, I think.
No, you can feel free. I mean, I try to simplify them. If you did you actually have some written questions?
I always have material prepared. It's not necessarily chess questions, but it's were there to be a lull in the conversation, I would have something to refer back to. But so to briefly get to YouTube stuff for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple weeks ago, your video started appearing in my recommended feed,
mm-hmm.
and I watch other chess streamers, so it wasn't totally clear exactly why. But one thing I noticed is like there seems to be this industry of everybody's thumbnails who's in the chess space where there's a very similar theme. Like, is there a consortium where you guys are like, this is how you do your thumbnails, or where does that come from?
No. I was inspired. I've only started doing YouTube seriously about 2 months ago, and I've been streaming for 2.5 years. And I don't have any sort of mechanism. So I just said I would primarily record for YouTube one-off, and I would not upload. I very rarely, like this, I will post even as a stream, but so I kind of just said, all right, I gotta have like nice thumbnails because otherwise they won't get any clicks. And the wonderful gentleman who makes GM Hikaru's thumbnails, he doesn't make mine. But I said, hey, do you have a friend?
Right.
And he said yes. So he put me in touch. And I kind of said, like, look, we got to put together, some catchy thumbnails because they got to get the clicks. And they don't have to be clickbaity or bullshit or any of that. But
sure,
that is, they need to be, big, bold, to the point. And that's kind of what they are. And I think like the video that YouTube picked up and started throwing into the algorithm was this Magnus Carlsen invents an opening.
Yeah.
And that was from a game that he played in a recently concluded tournament. And it wasn't quite true. Like, he didn't invent it, but he was the first high-level guy to play that way.
Well, I once read that openings are discovered, not invented.
Yeah, somebody put that on the video. Like, I had a lot of people listen. Some people in that video were like, hey, man, I played this against my friend the other day. Magnus didn't invent this. And I was like, guys, like, chill out, please. So Yeah, I would say that's better. Discovered, not invented.
But it seems like your YouTube channel is going crazy. I mean, so like I'm looking on Social Blade. The first few days of July, you had a couple hundred new subscribers,
Mhm.
and you got 2,700 new subscribers a bunch of days in the last couple days.
Yeah, it's been kind of insane. I think about 2.5 weeks ago, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, man, congrats on 5."
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah, it's crazy, you know." I think I've just been doing just consistent stuff. People like it. People like the thumbnails. They also like the material.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's maybe good to have a fresh face, like doing game recaps and instructive stuff. And I did notice that there's a giant gap on YouTube. Like if you type in chess strategy,
Yeah.
it's the same 1 hour lectures, that are not, they don't talk to the viewer. It's usually like to an audience. And then,
Yeah.
so I just said, hey, I'm just going to give it a shot. And yeah, people like it. And it's
And the
been,
10-minute format, I think, is smart that you're doing.
yeah. It's like, I started 6 to like 12 and I know that 10 is this magic number for obviously monetization, but
Yeah.
I try not to like buff it up too much. Like if it's 7, it's 7.
Right.
I'll
No,
be
I
okay.
mean keeping it to 10, where
Yeah,
somebody
sure.
may just
Yeah.
want to be like, I want to play a few
Hmm.
games, I want a new opening, I don't want to spend an hour on a long video. I think that that's smart. But yeah, I mean, the chess boom has just been crazy on YouTube and Twitch the last few months. It's insane.
It has been. I really like to go to Google Trends on YouTube and YouTube in particular and
Yeah.
just look up what chess is. And actually, a couple days ago, it cracked me up because on the left side, it'll show related terms.
Hmm.
And it was like Gotham American drama series. And I was like, that's because they're typing. That's so funny.
Right.
I still can't get to like page 1 of recommendation, but or of like Google Trends. But yeah, that's sort of the goal right now. But
So the yeah, I mean that's so but you're mostly doing the live. You're not doing any live stuff on YouTube right now.
no, I'm like exclusively Twitch for
Okay.
streaming. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, the algorithm. So yes, my some of my audience knows. Yesterday, I'll randomly stream like Trump press conferences or press briefings or whatever, and usually on YouTube they'll get 6 to 8 thousand live viewers, which is great. But something happened yesterday where they must have been like mistaking Fox News for my channel or something. I had 37,000 live viewers on YouTube during this just random 5 p.m. press conference. And it's like, it's just crazy because I know that YouTube's not trying to send me 36,000 viewers, but every once in a while you just hit the algorithm, I don't know, pot of gold or something like that. And it's never really clear why. Never will happen again, I'm sure.
Well, for streaming, I don't know how it works, but like for the that one Magnus video, that's
Yeah.
basically what happened, and it's so funny because it now when I do these comparisons of when I upload videos, it'll say like, oh, it's like way at the bottom based on the hours and the views because a day or two into it, the algo went nuts,
Yeah.
and I think the impressions click through rate was like 15% for a while, which is insanity because
That's
it's
insane.
usually yeah. So and people were just like, "How? Who are you? Welcome to YouTube," And that was the first one. And then I just started doing like a daily recap. And
Yeah.
uh, a while ago, I made rating climb videos. So I
Hmm.
started at 1,000, and I played Blitz and did commentary.
Right.
And then those started picking up. And yeah, it's kind of insane. But YouTube for like for a content creator on the income side, passive income side is insanity because Twitch
Well, more in
is
your field than in mine, because I'm doing a lot of
oh
my stuff gets stale. But what you're doing is, I wish I had something more evergreen.
so this term is like, yeah, I talked to Eric Rosen recently and he used this term evergreen. And I was
Oh,
like, did
really?
you make that term? He's like,
No,
no.
no, no, no. That term was discovered, not invented.
There you go. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen. So we'll figure out when the next one is. Hopefully soon. I mean, again, as we've been saying, I've been invited to this tournament, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully soon we'll be able to say more about exactly what it is. I'm wondering if there's this guy named Hassan Piker. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but there's a
Hasanabi on,
rumor.
on Twitch or
Yeah,
okay.
it's conceivable that he may be in the tournament. I don't know. I know that GM Hikaru was looking to be in touch with him, and he's as far as I know, a friend of mine. I know that there's some drama between Hassan and Stephen Kenneth Destiny Benel II, and there's a whole thing that I don't participate in.
Okay.
But my hope is that there's somebody else I know in the tournament if I'm so lucky to get confirmed.
Oh, very nice. And so does that motivate you to like beat them? Like what does that do?
If Hassan beat me at chess, I think it could be a problem for my career. Yeah, I think it could be a real problem.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So now you have extra motivation.
Yeah.
It's good to have a storyline in the tournament. That's very nice.
These are completely fabricated, but somebody in my chat is saying that Stephen Kenneth Destiny Bennell II is confirmed, which is weird because I didn't think anybody was confirmed. I thought it was just invitations at this point, but I guess we'll see.
Well, yeah. Before I get a very angry message saying to shut it down. No, I mean obviously it's we're figuring it out. I think it's if anyone's so late to the party that they don't know this tournament is happening,
Yeah.
I sometimes do that because my chat will be like, "Hey, could you leak something?" And I'm like, "Wait, PogChamps 2 is happening?" And they're like, "What?" So I told my chat if one person gave 1,000 subs on their own, like then I would do something, but
Yeah.
I probably still won't. So they'll report me for fraud.
Well, we don't want that. We don't.
No,
want that.
we definitely don't.
So I guess I'll catch up with you offline and we'll figure out when we're doing the next one. Now I've been assigned 2 coaches and I shouldn't say who the other one is yet because again everything is so touch and go. But how will that interact? Why if I have 2 coaches that chess.com would hypothetically assign me in a tournament that may happen to which I might have been invited, how will your coaching interact with their coaching?
So just make sure that it kind of supplements.
Okay.
And I guess that's sort of on the part of these hypothetical coaches that you have. I didn't actually know that you had a second coach.
I was shocked, to be perfectly
Yeah,
frank.
that's crazy. I had no idea. Uh, I think it's just, it's just to have these collaborations, hypothetically speaking. And it would be kind of on the part of both coaches to maybe talk about it, as well as just like, prior be like, all right, this is what I did with this person.
Got it. Oh, one more thing, and this might sound like a weird thing, but a bunch of people in my audience have been asking about this. There's this idea that super high level chess players are sometimes savants in the sense of autism spectrum.
Okay.
Is that something that what's your sense of that? Like, is that a thing? Because, it seems the ones that choose to stream, that's not the impression that I get, but I don't know what it's like at the big tournaments.
I think more often than not, if you just take the sample size of like the top 40, that is a pretty fair point to make.
Oh, interesting.
The thing is, I think even Magnus himself has said this. I think even Grishuk, so Magnus being world champion, I mean, across the board.
Yeah.
Grishuk has talked about this, who's like, if you don't know who Grishuk is, just go look up Thug Life Grishuk. He's the guy, the Russian grandmaster who gives really funny interview answers. It's a fair point. And a lot of them, I'm not sure how open they are like to talk about it, but a lot of them are also more extroverted than others. I mean, that's why Hikaru is so successful, because he charismatic, charming, can manage a chat of up to 45,000, people.
Right.
Not everybody can do that.
Sure.
So all of their personalities are a little bit different. I don't know if there's been like a study done on it, but if you then go to like international masters, I mean, I have always said, like, if I was more antisocial, I would probably be a grandmaster, because I would have just spent a lot less time just talking out of my ass. And, much more time. Like, so
interesting.
Yeah. I think it's a fair point. I will say
it's not a crazy question.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think in the, in the current day and age, we're trying to be a little bit like PC in the chess world. So this is not something we always talk about, but I feel like with you having a collaboration, I can very openly just say that, like, yes, most likely. It's a very high percentage, I would say.
Oh, interesting. Hi, that's interesting. All right, very good. Well, listen, thank you so much for starting to coach me. It seems like I've not been watching what's happening in your chat, but hopefully nobody's been hugely offended by anything I've done or said.
No, they love you. No, we got a good community. I think they were very excited. So
awesome. All right, well, we'll be in touch offline and we'll set up the next one.
Perfect. Have a good night. This was
all
great.
Right. Take care. Thank you so much. All right, there we go. What a day. An incredible victory, I would say, in the battle of ideas. And I did this one just on Twitch to start with. Conceivably, we would push some of this stuff multi-platform, and it could get very, very crazy. But that's going to do it for me. We've got a very, very long day tomorrow. Potentially Donald Trump press briefing, Kayleigh McEnany. We'll get back to politics tomorrow, but it's going to be a real party. So I'll talk to everybody later.